Okay, so back up at the car today. It's a lovely morning, cold again of course, but the sun's out, which is great. I picked up some petrol on the way, so 15 litres, I'm going to put that in now. But otherwise I've left the battery on trickle charge over these last couple of days. I wasn't up here yesterday. And I'm probably going to take out the carburetor and give that a clean today. So other than that, rather than setting myself too many goals, I might try and do those last two clamps on the brake lines underneath there, but I'm just going to plod along, see how I get on today. Okay, so that's all the petrol in, 15 gallons. 15 litres. Right. That's it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the Weber carburetor out and give it a good cleaning. Okay, so it's off, and oh yeah, of course, yeah, there's obviously going to be fuel in it, but interestingly enough, you can't really see it from there. There's quite a lot of petrol on that black flange there, so I'll just have to do some investigation. Maybe there is a blockage, maybe that's normal. I don't think it's normal to be so much petrol there, but I also noticed just this little lever here. Not the one, the arm on the side, but the one on the carburetor body itself. That was quite wet with petrol recently. So maybe that's been dripping down. It's most likely been dripping down, going in through that bolt hole and covering that flange. So maybe there is a blockage in there. Okay, so I've taken all the obvious parts off of the carburetor, diaphragms and covers and so on. And I've had a look at all the jets, and it all looks pretty clean. Difficult to get it out in the sun here. Let's have a look. I mean, I'm just going to clean it down with brake clean and see if anything comes out. Okay, so just spraying, actually not brake clean, I use carb cleaner to clean up the carburetor, but looking at this in here, this little filter which goes in here, you can see there are lots, it's doing its job obviously, lots of little bits of, I reckon, metal shavings, probably from the fuel tank. So maybe that had something to do with it, maybe not. There's nothing major coming out, so I'm just going to clean it all up, put it back together. Okay, so I've taken the two halves of the carburetor apart and cleaned up all of the jets. I didn't notice much dirt really. There was some gathered in there, but otherwise all of the passages and the canals, I suppose you'd call them, are all clean. So I'm going to put it all back together now. Okay, so that is the carburetor back together, and I'm going to put it on the car. Okay, so I've put everything back together. I've pushed it outside, as you can see, and I'm now going to start it. So we'll see how we get on. It's going to run really rough because obviously the carburetor isn't adjusted, but I'll do that as it warms up. That's no choke. Push the choke in. Okay, I need to let it warm up and then I'll set the carburetor as best I can, but it's still very cold at the moment. But it is sounding okay. The car is a little bit warmer now, and I've adjusted the carburetor as best I can. Let me hear what you think. There's quite a clacking there. I don't know if that's normal. But what's interesting is that the chuffs have pretty much disappeared. After adjusting those valves, it's still quite smelly, and that's been running for maybe 10 minutes now. But the chuffs have pretty much disappeared, so that's been fantastic. So I also mended the hole in the exhaust, and I also noticed there was a missing gasket between the base of the carburetor and the top of the inlet manifold. So I put 2 of those in there. They were with a set I got a few years ago. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that's running nicely. It was hesitating a bit on acceleration. Oops. Although it doesn't seem to be doing it now. I just don't know if that clacking is normal. Okay, so it started up perfectly, really on the button when I just left it off for about 10 minutes. And I've just brought it into this barn here just to do the setting with the idle that one of my subscribers mentioned to me. If you have the fan on full blast and the lights on, and you set the idle just above where the lights start to dim. So I came into the barn to do that, and then to my surprise realized that one of the headlights isn't working. So I've got to try and find out why that is the case. But otherwise, it just sounds beautiful. It's not chuffing at all for the first time ever, and it just sounds fantastic. I reduced the idle a little bit, and it just sounds awesome. I'm really pleased. I think that will get it ready now for the MOT. Once I've got that light fixed, of course. Okay, so I just took that lamp apart, which wasn't working. And sometimes it's the easiest things because I took it out and that connector wasn't connected to the back of the light. So I'm rather hoping that will be it. But I also noticed I've got quite a rattle on these lights, so I'm going to try and make them a little bit more secure. I don't know if anybody's used these aftermarket paddock lights, but there's a little screw hole there, and these are the two screws I've got left over. I don't know if you're supposed to screw them in from under there to push against the lamp itself to stop it rattling, or whether it goes in somehow strangely in this way. But if anybody knows, please let me know. Lovely, there you go. It was a simple fix. I like simple fixes. So you might remember from the few times that I've videoed driving this thing that there's been a pretty bad vibration. So I've just been going around all of the engine bay, underneath, inside, outside, just tightening up all the bolts that I obviously put together for the restoration. It's quite surprising how many of them are now loose, or at least maybe I didn't tighten them up entirely, but a lot of bolts that needed tightening up. But anyway, I've been getting a really bad vibration from this transmission tunnel here, and I thought I found a couple of things that were rattling and so on. But then when I got underneath the car again, I found that, all right, where is it? Yes. This is the four-wheel drive selector, and there's a plate that goes across this, and it has a hole in the top to let this lever through. However, there's a small, and if you can see it, there's a small sort of collar which is supposed to go in there like that, which supports the spring down the shaft. However, when I put this all back together, I left that collar at the bottom of this lever, and I'm really hoping that's what was rattling all that time. So I'm going to put it all back together properly now and see if that's what it was. Okay, so that's got that all back together, and it is a lot more stable. I actually put a small rubber grommet just at the bottom here, so it just deadens it even more. But yeah, I've got to go for a quick drive to see if that was the problem. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it there today. I've done quite a lot. The vibration that I thought I'd just cured by finding that little collet, it's helped a little bit, but it's not the big vibration, so I still don't know what that is. But otherwise, I've turned the idle down very slightly, and the headlights seem fine. The fan's going full as well. But yeah, I'm going to call it a day now.